What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Reptastic, where movies and entertainment are our reputation. Tenet was directed by Christopher Nolan and stars John Washington David. And the plot is very scattered. The best way I could describe it, there is a story there. There is definitely a story there. You just have to watch it like maybe 2 or 3 times for you to actually understand it, but it is so scattered. And without ruining it, the best way I could describe it is that it deals with time. That's all I can really say. You'd have to watch it several times for you to fully understand the full narrative. And it gets so convoluted that you're watching it and you're thinking to yourself, oh God, what the hell is happening? But at the same time, it's not a bad film. It's really not. It's a Christopher Nolan film. It's something that you would expect out of a Christopher Nolan film. Which brings me to the positives. Because the plot is so convoluted and so scattered everywhere, it really makes you think. It really makes your mind work. And that's really good for a film. You don't want every film to just be straight to the point. You want something to actually make your mind work. As if you're learning something at the same time. Since so much goes on, your mind does go into a spiral. So much so, it breaks you to insanity, while at the same time, it really motivates you to want to find out what the hell is happening in this whole entire film. It really motivates you to that point to where you're thinking to yourself, okay, what's really happening? Your mind is just working like 1,000 miles per hour, trying to figure out every single detail, because there's so much in this film piled into one. But still, it's one of those that just inspires you, that just motivates you to the max. And that's really what a good film should do. I mean, even though it may take you several times to watch this, I've only seen this once, but I got the gist. I really did get the gist. I am planning on renting this several times, maybe 2 or 3 times when it comes out, just so I could get the full plot details, so I could be sure what I was watching. But for a first timer, I got like 60%. But that was good enough for me. That was good enough for me to do this review, and that's good enough for most others that I've seen as well do reviews for this. But I made sure that I was paying attention really good. And yes, some things you will definitely miss, but it's still worth it. And there are certain things in this film that does happen, that does click, and that does start making sense later on. It's like certain things happen in the first half that actually answers it in the second half, or like later on down the road, which I thought was pretty cool. I was like shocked and all. So despite the plot being the way it is, certain things does get answered, and that's good enough for me. The visual effects really pays off. That's what most people are praising about this film. You know, this film, I think, on Wikipedia and IMDb, has gotten around a 60 to 70% rating for reviews. And that's pretty good. That's really good. And most of Christopher Nolan's movies actually accomplishes that. So it's really no surprise. Christopher Nolan is one of those directors that knows how to tell a good story. This looked like one of his most expensive films yet, because it's really slick and it's very creative, not to mention the edits. It was handled very well. And just like in the Dark Knight trilogy, you have all those wide-angled shots and those very elongated, over-the-building shots that he tends to do that makes the film more interesting in visuals and edits. And it's just the way Christopher Nolan does his films. It's his own style. And it was pretty good. I've always fancied that about him. Like how he does his own style and his own shootings. And especially for the IMAX scenes, which is basically what those are. Yeah, very good. John Washington David, who's actually Denzel Washington's son in real life, played a really good part. He played a guy named Protagonist. No name. He's basically a former CIA agent that gets roped into all this mess and all this craziness. His performance was pretty believable, and I like the way he acted. I like the way he delivered his lines. I thought he stole the show. And now let's slide into our mixed. And I hear a lot of YouTubers complaining about this, and I noticed it too. There's some issues with the audio mixes. Ever since The Dark Knight Rises, there's been this strange choice that Christopher Nolan decided to put in his films where he mixes sound with dialogue, which then cancels out some of the dialogue. So some of the dialogue I wasn't really able to make out that much. The sound, some of the background sounds, and the score was so loud that it canceled out some of the dialogue. It's like, he chose to do that for a reason. I know that. Maybe it was, since y'all won't get it the first time, you'll have to pay me more money to see it again. Yeah, we're on to you, Nolan. But seriously though, it wasn't bad. The sound designs and the sound mixes, the score and the sound effects was still really good. It's just that little dialogue issue that I had a little bit of an issue with. But again, it wasn't bad. It wasn't a total downer. Despite that, the sound quality and all was astounding. And let's move on to our negatives. The tone and pacing didn't really work for me. There was some draggy moments. Definitely some draggy moments. And I think that has something to do with the length of this film. It clocks into 2 hours and 30 minutes. I feel like that if the film was a little shorter, now this may be a nitpick, but I feel like if the film was a little shorter, it probably would have benefited a little better. Maybe around 2 hours and 10 minutes. I could have probably dealt with that, but it did feel a little draggy. It felt kind of slow, kind of sluggish, especially when you're dealing with a movie that has such a convoluted plot and something that you might have to watch again and again for you to understand. And that might have benefited too. If this film wasn't so long, it probably would have been more understandable, maybe the first go around. But, it is what it is. This isn't a bad film, not by far. I consider this to be one of the most original concepts that Hollywood actually thrown out. And I give that props to Christopher Nolan once again, because he knows how to direct. He knows how to film. He's a really great filmmaker, and for someone like Warner Brothers to put that much trust in the man, especially letting it go into theaters after all this stuff with this pandemic, this movie was actually meant to save theaters, and I hope it kind of did. I think it did. It didn't really make that much. It didn't make as much as the studio wanted. But in a pandemic world, I'm pretty sure there's some understanding to be had. But this is the movie that was supposed to save theaters, and I like to think that it did. I think that it did. I hope that it did. Despite its scattered plot and sound mix issues, this is quite a dazzling piece of art that only Nolan can achieve. It's a sweet delight. So, Tenet, have you seen it yet? What are your thoughts on it? Did you like Nolan's style and overall stamina of the film? Did you like the visual aid that this movie brought? Or do you think it was just way out there? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Before I end this video, on behalf of my last video, when I was talking about the theater experience in my Nightmare on Elm Street review, I did not mean anything bad by that. When I said that I don't like hanging around people that says that theater experience is dead, I didn't mean anything by that. I just want to make that clear. I'm just very passionate about the theater experience, and I'm sure a lot of y'all are too. It's just I've been hearing a lot of rumors because of this stupid pandemic that because of the lockdown and all that, and theaters still closing. Yes, I am privy to that. I'm not completely blind, but still, despite all that, I do believe that theater experience will make a comeback no matter how many times people say this dead, no matter how bad this pandemic gets. I do believe this pandemic won't last forever. When it does end, and it will, no matter how many streaming services there is out there, people are still wanting to go out. People are still wanting to go out on dates, have fun, and that will always include the theater experience. It's always been a big part of our culture. No matter how bad things are now, I have to believe that it will get better. And I just hate jumping to conclusions. And I hate hearing people, do the same. People can have their own opinions. It's just one of those scenarios where we agree to disagree. Setting all that aside, I hope all of y'all have had a safe summer despite everything going on. And I hope everybody's safe. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Like, subscribe, and comment if you hadn't already. And I will see you on the next one, whatever it may be. Peace, the Reptastic.